Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Write, for example, the night is shattered and the blue stars shiver in the distance. The night wind revolves in the sky and sings. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. I loved her, and sometimes she loved me too. Through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. I kissed her again and again under the endless sky. She loved me. Sometimes I loved her too. How could one not have loved her great still eyes? Tonight I can write the saddest lines. To think that I do not have her, to feel that I have lost her, to hear the immense night still more immense without her, and the birds falls to the soul like dew to the pasture. What does it matter that my love could not give her? The night is shattered and she is not with me. This is all. In the distance, someone is singing. In the distance, my soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. My sight searches for her as though to go to her. My heart looks for her and she is not with me. The same night, whitening the same trees, we of that time are no longer the same. I no longer love her, that's certain. But how I loved her. My voice tried to find the wind to touch her hearing. Another's. She will be another's, like my kisses before. Her voice, her bright body, her infinite age. I no longer love her, that's certain. But maybe I love her. Love is so short. Forgetting is so long. Because through nights like this one I held her in my arms. My soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. Though this be the last pain that she makes me suffer. And these the last verses that I write for her. This poem is known to some of you. This is one of the greatest love poems, rather breakup poems penned ever. Breakup is also a part of love, is not it? This poem is written by Pablo Neruda, who is sometimes claimed to be the national poet of Chile. Now, we will not waste our time. Let us directly go to the detailed analysis of this mind-blowing text. Pause the video. Read it for several times. Hey, but are you getting emotional? Is there someone coming to your mind? Then friend, this is certainly your poem. Don't miss it. By the way, we are using the translation of W.S. Marwin. So, from your reading, you have already formed some idea about the poem. Of course, this poem was written some days after the separation. Because the poet could not write on this topic for a long time. This breakup was such an overwhelming experience in his life. That's why he used the superlative saddest in the very first expression. Tonight, after a gap of some time, the poet thinks that now he is capable of writing on this particular subject. Tonight, he can. Because we know that time is the greatest healer. Time make him able to talk on this subject. But even time does not have that charismatic power. But even time does not have that healing power to make him forget his beloved. It is absolutely impossible. बेनाम सा ये दर्द ठहर क्यों नहीं जाता? बेनाम सा ये दर्द ठहर क्यों नहीं जाता? जो बीत गया है वो गुजर क्यों नहीं जाता? I think you can easily understand the condition of the poet or the poetic persona or poet lover, whatsoever you call him, because either you have gone through that type of experience or at least you have seen someone passing through that phase. In the second line, shattered is an example of transport epithet because the night is not shattered. What is shattered is their ideal. What is shattered is their promises. Tonight, with its similarity with the earlier nights when the beloved was with him, and when they thought of the eternity of their love, and certainly made promises like we will live together and we will die together. reminds him that their love has shattered. Even the stars, which are considered a symbol of permanence, they are shivering. This is a metaphor for their lost love. Only a lover can understand this emotion, because to a lover, the lost love is the lost paradise. Playing the blame game is a very common psychological stand after the breakup, and there is obvious reason behind it. It is such a horrible experience in one's life that life itself becomes unbearable after it. If the person does not try to convince himself that he was the innocent victim of the breakup and that he was wholehearted in his love and the other one was only half-hearted. In his attempt of self-justification, the poetic person has done the same thing here. I loved her, and sometimes she loved me too. But memory is the greatest tormentor. How can one forget the moment of happiness, of blissful serenity, and of eternal joy? The more we try to forget the past, the more it reminds us. Through nights like this one, I held her in my arms. I kissed her again and again under the endless sky. The tragic reality of the breakup can make a man almost insane. Sometimes he plays the blame game. Some other times he accuses himself as the cause of the separation. She loved me. Sometimes I loved her too. Even after desperate attempt, the poet lover cannot forget her. To think that I do not have her. To feel that I have lost her. दिल ये नादान तुझे हुआ क्या है? दिल ये नादान तुझे हुआ क्या है? आखिर इस दर्द का दवा क्या है? Then we search for the dawa. Then we search for the medicine. And what we find? We find that pretension, mere pretension, is our last refuge. Very often, and ludicrously enough, we try to play the Sigma male or the Sakht Londa who has don't care anything attitude. What does it matter that my love could not give her? Really? If it did not matter, why is he writing this poem at all? आंखों में नमी, हंसी लबों पर, क्या हाल है और क्या दिखा रहे हो? Actually, the man has lost his mind, and it is a very common mental state after breakup. So, in the same breath, the poet lover expresses his deep sorrow after the immense loss. The night is shattered, and she is not with me. There are some other expressions on the same vein. My soul is not satisfied that it has lost her. My sight searches for her as though to go to her. My heart looks for her, and she is not with me. We are mortal, and everything around us is temporary. Only nature is permanent. The same night, whitening the same trees, we of that time are no longer the same. The sameness of the night sky reminds him of the past hugs, past kisses, past promises. But the poet has found that the two bodies who used to hug each other in the past, who used to kiss each other in the past, who used to make promises to each other in the past of never-ending love, of eternal blissful happiness, they are no longer the same. The causes behind the breakup are not stated in the poem. But is not it easy to understand it? Though, when you fall in love, dear friend, you think that my love is different. A young, enthusiastic lover cannot be taught even from the past experiences of other lovers. But very soon, he finds that age-old, similar, circular movement of relationship. Before the relationship, you are alone. When it ends, you are lonely. And you should understand the difference between being alone and being lonely. Former is a choice, latter is a compulsion. Not only so, even bitterness will be added to loneliness. Normally, when a relationship starts, it starts with a lot of vows. It starts with all goodwill. But very soon, the two persons involved in it find each other alien. Then they start cockfighting, and it ultimately leads to breakup. And do you know why this actually happens? It happens because we do not love a person. We love the concept of love. A person might have and certainly has a number of faults, but the concept is ideal. The concept is flawless. Now, you try to get that perfection in your beloved, and it's your version of perfection. And when you discover a number of faults in him or her, you are disgusted. As a result, you are disillusioned. Very soon, the relationship becomes unbearable to you. Then, break up. So we are not actually betrayed by others. We are betrayed by our arrogance because we are foolish enough not to understand that ideal is something that can never be achieved. And then, after several days of suffering, after several nights of weeping, after so many anguished cry, naturally we try to forget the other one and murmur these words to ourselves. I no longer love her, that's certain. Okay then, 3 tears for the poet lover. Such a control over emotion, to see great hope. But are you naive enough to accept the utterance as oracular truth? Have you not found the conflicting mood of the lover after the separation? When all his attempts to forget the beloved are merely thwarted because of the passionate intensity with which they loved each other in the past. Then came another very, very disturbing thought into the mind, that my beloved will now fall for someone else. Another's. She will be another's, like my kisses before. Of course, this is sexual jealousy. But this jealousy is the spice of love. The situation is puzzling. The situation is bewildering. And ultimately, the lover realizes the profoundest truth of love. Love is so short, forgetting is so long. This is probably the most heart-touching line of the whole poem. प्रीत प्रीत सब कोई कहत, कठिन तासु की रीत, आदि अंत नीब नाही, बाछू की सी भीत. Everyone desires to get love, but love is as impermanent as sandbank. Our life is actually an act of letting people go, an act of entrances and exits. In our journey, some persons become special. They enter into our personal space and become a part of our life, become one with us, and after some time, disappear forever. Actually, in the world stage, all around us are merely our co-actors or actresses. But sometimes it becomes hard to accept the reality. It does not only take a long time to forget him or her, but actually it is impossible to do so. And the poet lover realizes this truth. Eternity is certainly achieved through love, but this is not eternity of love, rather eternity of suffering. The poem ends with the lines, though this be the last pain, she makes me suffer, and this the last verses I write for her. Again, that pretension of self-control. Don't you think that his utterance is needlessly emphatic? Why? Because this is not an utterance at all. This is not a statement meant for others at all. The poet lover is desperately trying to control himself because he knows absolutely clearly that it's impossible to control one's emotion. So, again and again, we know even after his declaration, he will harp on the same subject, the subject of lost love. Again and again, similar nights will come. Again and again, just like a spirit, he will haunt the places he spent together with his beloved. And again, he will be haunted and hunted by memory. Things will never change because forgetting is so long, or rather, a lifelong process. That's all for today.